now. Mason Rudolph has done the best he can to provide competent quarterback play. And I certainly think he has done that. He certainly looks better than Will Levis by comparison. We're not expecting Will Levis to be the starting quarterback of this team anymore. He still may be on the roster next season, but nobody expects him to start games for the Titans unless there are injuries or extenuating circumstances. So Teron Davenport was on Robbie and Rexroad this morning. They asked him if he had to guess, and with Teron, it's never just a flat out guess, it's informed. They asked him if the next Titans quarterback is going to be a rookie or a veteran, and he says it's likely to be a veteran. And we've gone through all of the potential veterans out there. We've talked about Justin Fields. We've talked about Sam Darnold. We've talked about Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. We've gone through it all. And there is a name that we have mentioned once or twice in passing, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports was with Robbie and Paul Kaharski last week, and they asked him about the future of Aaron Rodgers and could Tennessee perhaps be in the mix for Aaron Rodgers' services next season. This is what Charles Robinson said on Robbie and Rexroad last week.
Will he have options elsewhere? Yeah, because there's going to be quarterback need. There just is. It's not a great draft. The other bridge options aren't awesome. I would not be stunned if he would like to go to Tennessee. I would not be stunned if he would like to play for the Titans. But I don't know. I mean, it's a murky. It is a very difficult quarterback market to call right now because I think we're still sorting some things out. Some guys are still going to affect their situations with how they play down the stretch. And then we're all sort of waiting to find out exactly what's going to happen with the Vikings and Darnold.
That was Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports last week on Robbie and Rexroad, connecting some of the dots between the Titans and Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show and talked about the great state of Tennessee and mentioned the delicious barbecue in Memphis. He did not say Nashville. He said Memphis. But with Aaron Rodgers, there's always
he had to throw the Memphis out there.
Had to.
Yes, he did.
Did you pay him for that one, David?
Maybe.
Either way, you always have to read between the lines with Aaron Rodgers. So as soon as those words left his lips, there were plenty of articles saying, did Aaron Rodgers hint that he could be interested in joining the Tennessee Titans? And it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Rodgers in New York. I think he is expecting to be released by the Jets. He even said on the Pat McAfee show, I'm not sure if it was the same segment as the one I just referenced, but he said being released would be a first. Being released by a teenager, that would also be a first. And that was in reference to that bombshell story that came out in The Athletic about Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, how he apparently takes advice from his teenage sons on how to run the team. So who knows what happens with Aaron Rodgers in New York, but it seems that his time there is coming to an end. And if you are looking at a bridge option at quarterback for the Titans, it really is slim pickings out there, Derek. Is Aaron Rodgers, in your mind, a viable option for the Titans, if only for a couple of years, maybe even one season, to get the Titans to that next franchise quarterback?
That's like asking somebody that haven't had water in like 3 days. Hey, only thing I got, man, is sparkling water. I know you don't want sparkling water. So, I mean, no, give me that sparkling water because I hadn't had water in 3 days. I don't care what kind of water it is. Just give it to me. As long as Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, not Baker Mayfield, but Derek Carr, any one of these quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, any one of these quarterbacks that come that are, either free agents or, their team will be looking to trade them. You have to have conversations with either that team or that individual, because you've been in quarterback purgatory for the last 2.5 seasons, and it doesn't seem that you're going to get a top 2 or 3 pick. So you may be out of range for the quarterback that you really want. So if that's the case, then yeah, I'm talking to all of these guys. Now, it's going to come down to, who ends up being the best fit. And, in regards to, the stay here in Nashville, how long would that be? A guy like Aaron Rodgers, that can potentially be just a year thing, possibly 2. You look at Derek Carr, he may be a little bit longer than that. Who else may come up? Sam Darnold, he's going to be a 5-year guy. I'm telling you that right now. He's going to be a 5-year guy. If teams don't feel that there's a quarterback in this year's draft that they want to go out and draft in the first round. So he's going to be a 5-year guy. So which one of these guys that are going to be potential free agents or guys that you can trade for, which one of these guys are going to be the least amount you have to invest in? Meaning years, not necessarily money, but years, because you want to be able to draft your quarterback within the next 2 or 3 years. And you don't want to have a guy on a contract for, longer than that. If indeed you're going to try to get your quarterback within the next year or 2. Even if you draft one in the second round, develop them, and it's going to take maybe 2 years. So you don't want to have a guy, on a 5-year contract, and your timetable for developing your guy is 2 years. So to me, that's what it boils down to. But I think Aaron Rodgers would be a nice fit here. I really do. As long as he comes back, it seems like he's getting healthier. He looks like a different quarterback than he did the first half of the season. So if that continues, then yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him here for a year or 2 now. You got to let them know that it comes with you not getting what you want. You're not building our team. We're building our team. You tried that in New York. It didn't work. So we're going another route. You can suggest some people but that don't mean we're going to get them.
So I just want all Titans fans out there to get your Allen Lazard jerseys printed right now.
I would be looking more at Adams, because he's on a 1-year deal with the Jets, essentially. And he will end up being, I think, a free agent. So, bringing Adams here, that wouldn't be a bad thing for 2 years, but maybe he doesn't come. Maybe he wants a longer deal than that. But that would be like the only guy that if you bring in Rodgers, if he says Davante Adams, then I'm like, okay, let's try to make this work. But anybody outside of Davante Adams, no.
Randall Cobb lives in Nashville.
So
don't want no Randall Cobb. I loved Randall Cobb as a player when he played. It was tough, physical, damn good player with the Green Bay Packers, but his years are gone. He's had too many injuries, man.
So according to ESPN, under Rodgers' current contract, which he renegotiated last year, he's due a $35 million option bonus and a $2.5 million base salary in 2025, none of it guaranteed. He took a $34 million pay cut last year to provide cap relief to pursue free agents. His cap charge in 2025 is a manageable $23.5 million, although the team, the Jets, would get hit with a $49 million dead charge if he's released or traded. So perhaps the cost wouldn't be too prohibitive. The other thing that Teron Davenport mentioned this morning, which I thought was an astute point by TD, is when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, and as Derek, you mentioned, especially if the Titans win this weekend against the Jaguars, they are probably out of range for Shedeur Sanders. But Teron mentioned for all of the people who are against bringing in Shedeur Sanders because of the potential circus that could follow him, ask them about Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is a 3-ring circus. He has a lot more experience at this than Shedeur Sanders. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers were to sign with the Titans, we might as well simulcast the Pat McAfee show every week when he's on. We'll just turn over the airwaves to his segment on the Pat McAfee show. So there is some of that comes with Aaron Rodgers. But the other thing, and I believe this is what Jared said recently, and again, if I am misconstruing Jared's words, I'm sure to get a text message about it, that signing Aaron Rodgers would be that desperate Hail Mary type move if Ran Carthon were to return. It's sort of that job saving move. You want a competent quarterback to come in to hope wins some games to save your job. And that could be Aaron Rodgers. But as I look at all of these options, I mean, this is what happens, Derek, when you don't have a franchise quarterback. You have to go shopping in the discount aisle, or you have to go on the quarterback equivalent of Craigslist and find a slightly used or well-loved, as I like to call it, quarterback.
That's a
just
better
what's
way to
going
put it.
to happen. Yes, well-loved. Bob on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says, hell no to Aaron Rodgers. If he comes, I'll take the year off. One texter says Aaron Rodgers will sell tickets. That is true. Jeff says, hell no Aaron Rodgers. A guy like Sam Darnold at a reasonable price on a little longer contract would give time to draft and develop the young quarterback in the draft, which is a proven way to acquire a franchise quarterback. There's just a couple of things with that, though, Derek. Mm-hmm. One, Sam Darnold is the belle of the well-loved quarterback ball this offseason. He is going to get overpaid. It's going to happen. And you said with Darnold, it's going to be a 5-year commitment, probably something along those lines. That to me is prohibitive in terms of developing a quarterback. So although Darnold is the best of the bunch in terms of these quarterbacks who could be available this offseason, if you sign Darnold, you're making a commitment to Sam Darnold to be your quarterback of the near future. A quarterback like Rodgers, who's in his early 40s, maybe 1 or 2 years, that gives you time to hopefully find and develop the next guy.
I think what people don't understand is this. In regards to Aaron Rodgers, I understand, you don't want the circus, but hell, he's not doing anything wrong. He's not, out, making himself potentially unavailable for things he's doing outside of the locker room or outside of the building. He's not doing all these crazy things. He's not getting in trouble. So I don't understand the sort of hatred for Aaron Rodgers. Now, does he do some things that may not be conventional to everyone? Yeah, but that's his thing. That's his deal. That's what keeps him in the space of okayness, if that is a word. I don't think it is, but I'm gonna make it one. If you're going to dislike Aaron Rodgers, dislike him for his play, but I think his play has gotten better. He tore his Achilles at 39. Anybody that tears their Achilles, it takes them a while to come back. Look at Harold Landry and his knee. It took him a 4 year and a half to get back to sort of where he left off. And you didn't see that until the second half of last season. So it was 1.5 years. With Aaron Rodgers, it's the same. He's starting to play a lot better than he had in the beginning of the season. Why? Because he's healthier. That's the big thing with him. He's still making those same type Aaron Rodgers throw, but now he's getting healthier. And if I can get a healthy Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, I'll take that for 1 year or 2. Because to me, the stuff that he's doing outside of the football field, it's only noise because y'all making it noise. Let him do him. As long as he show up on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, we're good. As long as he's not putting our team in a position where we may not have him because he's doing something crazy outside the building. But if he's taking care of himself in the offseason, do you, Aaron Rodgers, as long as you come back in, you're healthy and you're ready to go. With Sam Darnold, you got to understand this. And Charles Robinson said this on Robbie and Rex. This morning? Yeah. That, listen, if you go get Darnold, you got to understand, O'Connell doesn't come with him. Jefferson doesn't come with him. Okay? You got to understand that too. That what you're seeing is a byproduct of a damn good head coach and the best wide receiver in the National Football League with a young guy that is coming on, and they got a tight end. So if you're not giving Darnold all of that, then he may not be the same quarterback. So there is a warning label there as well that, hey, listen, this may come with some changes as you take him to your team. So just understand and realize that about Darnold.
615-737-1025. What are your thoughts on Tennessee Titans quarterback Aaron Rodgers? We'll take your phone calls and your texts at 615-737-1025. Driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. The Game Nashville Sports Network is your home for college football bowl games and the college football playoff presented by Twin Peaks Empowerment Tractor and Equipment. Bowl games today include Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. The Liberty Bowl with Texas Tech and Arkansas at 6 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. And closing it out will be the Las Vegas Bowl with Texas A&M and USC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. For a list of games carried on the Game Nashville Sports Network, visit thegamenashville.com/ballgames. Tune into 102.5, 106.3 The Game today for Vanderbilt football presented by Prince's Hot Chicken. The Commodores will take on Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl with pregame beginning at 1 o'clock right after our program and kickoff at 2:30. Coverage is also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, joined by Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Hutton, I hope you and your family have had a wonderful holiday season. Derek and I opened the show, of course, talking potential Titans quarterbacks. Today,
Yes.
we decided to discuss Aaron Rodgers, who could be on his way out in New York if Woody Johnson's teenage sons have anything to do with it, apparently. So we'll see what happens there. We know there is a lot of baggage that comes with Aaron Rodgers on the field in terms of being in his early 40s, suffered an Achilles injury not too long ago. We know the off-the-field stuff that comes with Aaron Rodgers. What would you make of a Aaron Rodgers fit with the Titans if that were the route they decided to go?
Well, first off, guys, happy holidays to you. Happy New Year coming up.
Hey, same to you.
Adam, I'm open to the discussion of this because in fact, I loved the Aaron Rodgers version of 2023, not the Achilles injury, but he inspired that locker room in the offseason whenever he first signed. Sauce Gardner's tweeting out that they're, all of a sudden, everything's sunshine and rainbows. Garrett Wilson's going crazy. There was hope within that organization. Now, this offseason, this past one, it was very dull. He takes a trip to Egypt during the mandatory minicamp. There's a lot of it felt dysfunctional. And I kept referencing the previous offseason when he did everything possible to be around. In fact, whenever he had the Achilles injury, when he was on the sideline, despite Zach Wilson playing and other things, when he was on the sideline, they actually they competed in games. It was strange. They were they had 8 wins or something, didn't they? Mm-hmm. It's a team that felt like they had a chance. That's important for this Titans team moving forward. In fact, it's important for the fan base. So that he brings that. If he brings the version of Aaron Rodgers that we saw leave Green Bay and enter into a different organization, and there was a rejuvenation feel to it, Super Bowl aspirations. They won't be that here, but you have that same vibe if you get that version of him. 1 year is enough. Let me put it that way, of Rodgers. And the downside is he's the voice of the organization. He'll be the face of it because it's him and it's Brian Callahan that speak during the week on a weekly basis, and that's it. And we would see that from Will Levis too, by the way, if Levis were winning games. So it's the quarterback and the head coach, and in this case, it's just the head coach that speaks on behalf of the entire organization. That's going to be Rodgers too. Except it's not going to be the local media. It's going to be on McAfee and anywhere else he chooses to speak. So that could be an upside or a downside if you're winning games, and if you're not, everything's going to suck anyway. It's a Hail Mary for a year. It's a stopgap, yes, but it's an obvious one based on his age and probably performance. Where again, you're just trying to show true improvement, and you can't run it back with a quarterback situation that doesn't inspire some sort of energy, because right now there's a lot of apathy.
So, Hutton, we haven't spoken to you since we watched the first round of the college football playoff. All 4 games, the home team won. All 4 games were decided by double digits. And understandably, or rather expectedly, there was a ton of hand-wringing about the 12-team college football playoff because of the blowouts in the first round. And I specifically think of the game in Happy Valley between Penn State and SMU. A lot of SMU didn't deserve to be there. On the other side, of course, Penn State was also an 11-2 team. Penn State also did not win its conference championship game. Penn State also did not really have a marquee win during the regular season. And Penn State also had a history under their current head coach of not winning big games, but they win by 28, and that's not a problem. But SMU loses by 28, and it's suddenly a problem. What did you make of all of, as I said, the hand-wringing about the first round of the college football playoff with all of the blowouts?
Well, I mean, we want to be entertained, right? I felt like the ratings were decent just considering the type of games that we saw. And I'm looking for a stat right now as we sit here. If you're watching the stream and what I'm doing, there was not a stat, but just a fact about how many blowouts we saw in the 14 playoff. It's not like we saw competitive games on the regular in that instance either. But here's where the hand rigging is really going to occur. It's not with the committee. I think that the process itself and the overall the format, that's where the attention will turn if we get more of this in a couple days on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because the format, Adam, sets up where, and I wish I could find this about the percentage of games that were decided by 3 possessions or more.
So I do have this statistic from Matt
go ahead.
Baker of The Athletic.
Okay.
He said in the 4-team playoff era, which was 2014 through 2023, the average margin of victory in the first round was 17.9 points. Add national title games, the margin was 18.6. The average spread in this year's first round was 19.3.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. So, I mean, it's not much different than what we've been watching. It's not if you lose, it's how you lose. So who knows if we saw a point separation there in some of the games. The TCU championship game doesn't help when they're facing Georgia. Okay, let's go back to the format though. The hand rigging is going to be over the format and the automatic buys if Boise State and Arizona State don't show up and do something. Will the extra week of preparation, will the extra time for the advanced scouting help? Because I've hit on this before, I believe, where the staff sizes for those 2 programs compared to the big dogs is vastly different. They saved a week where they could recruit and they could rest, they could practice, and they didn't have to prepare immediately for a team like SMU did. SMU would have to turn around and immediately face another team, whereas Georgia's getting a week off to do everything with their staff of 60 plus. SMU's got a staff of like 20, or Boise State has a staff of 25 extra. I'm not talking about coaching staff. I'm talking about coaching staff, support staff. That's where you can actually gain an advantage. Will the coaching staffs, though, be able to take that and then come up with a game plan that adds a few wrinkles and you're able to compete a bit better? I think that the coaches in this can play a huge difference. Willingham, for instance. So all that being said, am I putting my money behind the teams that had a bye? Not those 2 teams. Not after we saw that in round 1, but it's the format of things where Tennessee looks pedestrian against Ohio State, but if they don't lose to Arkansas, they're hosting SMU, and if we probably see a win. And everyone thinks Tennessee's on the upward trajectory towards the top 4 teams instead of what we think there's still a long way to go to become Ohio State. So it's all perception based on the matchups, and the matchups just weren't great. But you have the haves and the have-nots, and the Big Ten has 4. SEC got in 3 this year, and everyone else is happy with 1 or 2, and that's because they're in a format like this where they're guaranteed $8 million, $6 to $8 million as they move forward with every round that they get in.
I think people are upset, and I think it's just mainly SEC fans, and it seems like SEC coaches that they didn't get one of those another one of those automatic bids that it was given to SMU. I mean, it was given to Boise State, or it was given to Arizona State, and they would rather it. Frankly, I think they would rather it be 6 teams from the Big Ten and 6 or 7 teams from the SEC. So unless they decide to sort of reseed after the first round, or just reseed period, and not based upon winning your conference, then you're going to continue to see these lopsided games, whether it's a second place Big Ten team going against I think a 6th or 7th place or 6th place SEC team. I think
there's a huge jump.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to see that discrepancy when it comes to the score at the end of the day. Because
totally agree.
Because like y'all said, y'all gave the percentage, y'all gave the spread pretty much of the last, 4 years on, the championship game and the game before that. And it still didn't matter. It still was a blowout. So it seems like no matter who you put in, more than likely you're going to get a blowout rather than a really good game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still, no matter how the format changes, we still have 2 to 3 dominant teams in the college football world. And I think we still, on most years, will end up with the same programs, plus or minus 1, right? Like Alabama's going down. Meanwhile, another program can move up. This Ohio State Penn State, for instance, they have a path where they should take advantage of what their opportunity looks like to the semis. Will they? I don't know with James Franklin. But if they do, the perception of that program changes to a point where we feel like they are a part of the upper crust. So again, let me also add this in. The bowls themselves they're going to be upset because, well, let me take a step back. The ratings are going to be fine as long as it's a competitive game. Okay, there's no competition against the NFL. But the Texas matchup this upcoming week, Texas Arizona State in Atlanta, tickets are going for like $50 because Texas just played in Atlanta for the SEC championship. So fans aren't going back to Atlanta if they were just there. There's a lot of travel involved too. So the matchups matter. The bowls are going to have a lot of control in this because they've always had that. The big title sponsors matter, but ultimately it's the ratings. If we continue to watch this, they'll continue to run it back. And college football has been pretty good this year.
Hutton, can you join us for another segment?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to.
Let's do it. We'll go to break. We'll come back and have more with Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hi, Nashville. It's Derek Mason. No. What's going on, Nashville? Happy Friday. This is Derek Mason, and Zen Sports just picked their grand prize winner for the month of November. So that's already done. The sweepstakes, the big game sweepstakes for November is done and is over with. And congratulations to the winner. And I know those that didn't win, you're like, man, gosh, if only I had another chance. Well, you know what? We heard you, and we heard you loud and clear, because they're running it back with December big game sweepstake college edition this time. It's not the pros, but it's the college edition. This time, instead of going to the big game for the pros, they're giving you a chance to go to the very first big game in the new college football tournament with a grand prize of $10,000 cash and 2 tickets to the biggest college football game of 2025. Yes, the one south of us in the great city of Atlanta, and the ability to earn entries on every bet you place in December. It doesn't get much better than this. If you don't win the grand prize, don't worry. You'll also have a shot to win one of 10 small prizes, which grants you $1,000 toward any college football game in 2025. So what are you waiting for? Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for a full list of the rules and earn a $100 no danger wager on your first bet. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee. Yeah.
Tune into 102.5, 106.3 The Game for the Trans Perfect Music City Bowl on Monday, December 30th. Chase and Big Joe will have pregame coverage starting at noon, and kickoff is set for 1:30. Music City Bowl coverage presented by Hi-Fi Buys. And by the way, because Chase and Big Joe will be doing pregame coverage starting at noon on Monday, DVD will be on earlier on Monday from 9 to noon. Instead of the usual 11 to 2. So you can catch us from 9 to...
The suit didn't give you the day off?
He did not give us the day off on Monday.
Wow.
We will just be working earlier.
Wow. Hey, the people want to hear us, man. The people want to hear us.
That's okay. We're happy to do it.
That's all true. You guys should do the play-by-play.
We are happy to do it. Derek, I know you had another question for Hut.
Yeah, so I'll skip that play-by-play, Hut. Hey, I want to, because there was a lot made of prior to the game, the UT and Ohio State game, and there were fans upset that they had to go, up north and play, but they didn't want to complain too much about the weather, but there was some things out there about the weather potentially. But UT comes up north and they get beat in the fashion that they get beat.
Yep.
How far, or if any, does that set the team back in regards to how the nation look at UT in the SEC?
Man, okay, Mace. I think that the country looks at the 12 teams and won't forget who made the 12. Okay. This season was a success for the Vols. No matter the result of what happened here. Again, the draw itself, if they beat Arkansas, just go back to that game. Beat Arkansas, and you're hosting SMU or Indiana, based on, and again, we can go and do the ifs, ands, or buts with any record we want. Look, there is a separation between Tennessee and Ohio State. Ohio State was just better quarterback play. I felt like they outcoached Tennessee. And I thought Chip Kelly was the one who outcoached Heupel with the way they took advantage of the speed, sideline to sideline advantage. There was a clear disadvantage there for the Vols. Tennessee, I think everyone sees how close Tennessee can be or is, but there's still that gap with how different it is to make that jump to get to that level. And what they're short 2 or 3 more A-plus blue chip players that you can go in and count on. Ohio State has those guys, and Tennessee didn't. And when they lose their run game, or when they come out and don't try to really establish it,
That's where the game ended because Ohio State did the opposite of what they did against Michigan. They gave the football to Smith and others and forced the pass, and it didn't matter how good the corners are on the outside. The elite talent was with Ohio State. That's the difference. And in this era of NIL and transfer portal and everything else, there's a different class there too. But keep in mind the cap is coming. The $22 million cap is coming as far as the distribution for universities. There will be someone that'll step up and start paying players. But I think the perception is, oh, let's go out and get that one guy. Let's get one or two of those guys. You need more than that. You have to be far and wide when it comes to who you're bringing in. And you got Alabama transfers going to Ohio State, for instance. That's really, to me, the difference in the two programs. That's the perception of Tennessee is they're on the climb. But when we discuss who's the next group of coaches that will jump into the into that tier one lane, Heupel he'll soon be in that conversation, right? Like that's where Josh Heupel needs to go. Mm-hmm. And I felt like in this particular instance, even with the week to prepare, it didn't go as planned for Heupel and the road games, the true road games.
Hutton, before we let you go, Netflix Christmas Game Day was a smashing success, according to Nielsen. 65 million viewers for the games between the Ravens and Texans and Chiefs and Steelers. It was pointed out to me that still pales in comparison to the number that the Christmas games on CBS and Fox got last year, 81.4 million. But Netflix, I mean, certainly there were some hiccups, I believe, early on in the broadcast, but overall, a huge hit. What do you think this means for the state of NFL broadcasting moving forward when it comes to streaming services having these games?
Well, streaming is going to take over. And the only glitches I heard of, I didn't watch the pregame coverage, but that's the only problems I heard when we saw the wheel of death, the circle of death on the screen, the buffering. That's it. Like audio issues or whatever it might be. That I thought the game itself, the broadcast itself was excellent. The picture quality, the graphics, the broadcast talent, I thought it was really good. The games weren't great. I mean, I was even tuning out of some of those games. The 31-2 or whatever the final is. I mean, that was a boat race that I didn't care to see in the second half, especially when Henry went to the sideline for the game. Netflix. So here's the thing. Netflix is the only, this blows my mind. They are the only streaming service to date to turn a profit. Only Netflix. That is crazy. They have 300 plus million subscribers worldwide. And Roger Goodell has a global initiative for the NFL before he steps down in 2027. The audience goes beyond the United States of America for the NFL. And Netflix is jumped in, and they now own a holiday that is not Thanksgiving and not just the United States, but it's also global. They can turn that into a far and wide NFL reach, and they're paying $125 million per game or whatever it is to do that. I think they'll be more involved. We will never have a Christmas moving forward, guys, without the NFL available to watch. They are going to take over what the NBA used to do. The unofficial tip-off to the season for me growing up was Christmas Day for the NBA. Now it's going to be which teams are playing on Christmas Day across the NFL, and it doesn't matter what day.
Jonathan Hutton joining us as he does every week. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Hutton, great stuff as always. I hope you have a happy and healthy new year. We'll talk next week. Did we lose Hutton?
Yeah, I think we lost Hut.
I think we lost Hutton.
Yeah.
But that's okay because we were about to leave Hutton. No offense to Hutton. We were about to leave Hutton.
It ended abruptly, and I was like, did he have something? I guess not. Now I know why.
I think he's frozen.
That is okay.
Yeah, but
615-737-1025. It is time to ask D Mace at 615-737-1025. Call us, text us. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So get your questions in now for Derek, and we will do that next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, The Game.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
And there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D-Mace.
We'll welcome you in.
Now, D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time to ask D-Mace on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Of course, Derek Mason and Adam Vingan here with you. Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech coming up in the Birmingham Bowl. Pre-game coverage starts right after our program at 1 o'clock. But before we get there, it's time to ask D-Mace. Get your questions in now at 615-737-1025. Let's start on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Josie is on our phone line. Josie, thank you for calling. What's your question for Derek today? Jose. It says Josie. I'm sorry, I meant Jose. Jose, what is your question for Derek?
Oh, yeah, man. No worries. I go by both sometimes.
Okay, good to know.
Going back to the previous conversation, I'll ask Derek if you were the players rep in the union and you were trying to negotiate with the NFL in regards to these Christmas games, can you or would you try to make it where these teams have a bye the week before? And or if that isn't feasible because it's not maybe they get too much of an advantage for having a bye week that late. I just wonder what your thoughts are in regards to that. And do you think that the Players Union will probably try to make a change? I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
Thank you for the question. Jose. Happy New Year to you as well, Jose. I was a player rep when I played the second half of my career. Let's just say that I was a player rep. And in regards to the Christmas game, as far as how you would schedule it out, I think a lot of that would take place during negotiations of a new collective bargaining. If the players, because it's always going to be a give and take, because the owners are going to say, hey, listen, if y'all want a mandatory bye week, if you are that team that's playing on Christmas, and right now there were 4 teams playing on Christmas, and I dare to say there probably will be at least 1 or 2 more next year that are playing on that day. So if indeed the players come to the table outside of negotiations, meaning the collective bargaining, because right now they're tied into a deal. So if they want to come in and sort of do something separate to that deal, I'm not sure how hard that would be or how easy it would be, but I'm pretty sure that the owners would be like, okay, if that's what y'all want, then y'all got to give up something too. And I don't know what that something is that the NFLPA has to give up. But it would be nice if, but the problem with Christmas, it falls on different days. One day is on a Wednesday. Next year's going to be on a Thursday. The next year's going to be on a Friday. So that's the part, because what if you say, well, I'm going to give them a bye week. Because it just may be, the schedule may be thrown off somewhat. But can the NFL possibly do it? Yeah, I'm sure they could. But they're going to want something in return. If indeed they're going to sort of make a change like that in regards to, even though it may seem to us a minor change because they can do all of that before the season as they're doing scheduling, but it would be an opportunity that the owners say, hey, listen, y'all want this? Because y'all brought it to the table. We didn't see anything wrong with it. But if y'all want to make sure there is a bye week for anybody that plays on Christmas Day, then what are y'all willing to give up? Maybe it's nothing of substance.
They played
they
the
play
Steelers
like 10 games
on Christmas
and
Day.
They play like 3 games in 10 days, something like that.
Correct. They played the Cleveland Brown. They played at Cleveland on the 15th, home to Houston on the 21st, and at Pittsburgh on the 25th. So that's 3 games in 10 days, 2 on the road.
Yeah, now that should be looked at. There, no team, and it happens every so often. I think there's 2 or 3 teams, possibly 2 per year that run into sort of that playing 3 games in X amount of days. That's occurred, I think, every year. But the NFL really needs to look at that. If you're promoting health and trying to keep these guys upright and whatnot, you guys shouldn't have to play 3 games in 10 days. That's just too taxing on their bodies because it's such a physical sport. And that's not something that, you're used to. You would do it because you have to, but after those 3 games, man, your body has taken a beating. So if the NFL is true, which I think they are, if the NFL is true about individuals' health, the players' health, then I think they do need to look at that and try not to let that happen again.
Dylan on our text line points out that the Ravens and the Steelers also had 3 games in 10 days. So it's these teams playing around Christmas Day. But yes, for a league that prioritizes health or claims to prioritize health, I should say, that doesn't seem conducive to long-term health.
Yeah, but the problem is that, because there are only, the NFL is so top heavy, you have no choice but to put these marquee teams on television. Nobody wants to see the Chicago Bears, even though they did play on Christmas, and you see what you got, a 6-3 game. But nobody wants to see Carolina or Chicago or
everybody complained about the Lions always playing on Thanksgiving Day until they became good.
Exactly.
Right?
But I mean, but the Lions was always a staple. And I know Chicago is in there every so often, but the Lions and the Cowboys always play on Christmas Day. So that's sort of like a staple, regardless of if they're having a good season or not. Those games are going to be on Christmas Day. It's the other games. Nobody wants to see a New England play when they're down on Christmas Day. So what does the NFL have to do? They got to put at least one marquee team going against somebody else on each game.
Eric is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Eric, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. What question do you have for Derek today?
Hey guys, y'all have to forgive me. I am battling allergies. I just sneezed a few minutes ago, so hopefully I won't sneeze while I'm on the phone with you. I got a dad joke for you, but you were talking about that 3 games in 11 days. The Texans did it too, and also, if you remember, a few weeks ago, the Dallas Cowboys did it. They played the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. Then I believe the following Sunday, they either went to Washington, Carolina, and then Thursday played Thanksgiving Day against the Giants. So that happened to them a few weeks ago, and that's happened to them before in the past. So that's an unfortunate thing. But anyway, as far as my dad joke, Derek, I think you might like this one. Why do vampires love to go to baseball games?
Because of the batters.
Yeah, well, something like that. It's because of Bat Day.
Okay, I like that one. I was close.
Yeah, you were. So my Ask D-Mace question is this, Derek. You may or may not be into this, but I just was curious if you ever was into this. Was you a big New Year's resolution guy, or did you just not care for it? Because I know a lot of people make New Year's resolutions, and some people don't, and other people say it's just good stuff anytime, but a lot of people feel like doing that at the beginning of the year. My New Year's resolution has become now not to make New Year's resolutions. So that's kind of my deal. But just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Guys, it's always good to talk to you. I'll probably call you again next week, but if I don't, I'll just wish you a happy New Year to you guys. Y'all take care and we'll talk to you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you,
Appreciate it. I stopped making New Year's resolutions.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's just
not for you personally. I think that to Eric's point, New Year's resolutions are made to be unfulfilled.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's a good way. Like, look, I've been at my in-laws' house for the past week, and I have eaten more than my fair share
of good food.
Of good food. And I keep telling myself, I'm gonna go back to the gym on Monday. I'm gonna start eating healthy on Monday, or Wednesday, whatever the day New Year's Day is. I think it's Wednesday. But either way, you're setting yourself up for disappointment by having those goals. It's helpful in December when you are eating yourself out of house and home, and you can say, I'll hit the gym in January. It's okay. It's the holiday season. This is just one example, of course. But, New Year's resolutions, every time I've tried to make them, they never get done in the time that I hope they would get done.
Yeah, I think people just because here's the things with New Year's resolutions, and some people stick to theirs. I get it. Some people stick to them, and for those that do, congratulations to whoever you are, because they are extremely hard. That means you are a well-disciplined person. But for me, in regards to resolutions, there needs to be a plan set before you even try to make those resolutions. It's like, okay, because what happens every year? You go to the gym, and the gym, you can't get a machine, or you sign up for that class and you're barely getting in, and it's only going to be this way for the next 2 weeks, probably, maybe 3, because no one put a plan in place. They just said, my resolution is to go to the weight room or do some extra running, not without a plan in place to keep it going, whether that be because some people try, I'm gonna go every day or every 3 or 4 days. No, if you hadn't worked out in some years, don't try to go every day or every 3 or 4 days. Try with twice a week first and sort of work your way up to what your goal is. So I think a lot of people just go in without a plan, and that's why the resolution ends up faltering or falling apart on January about the 20th, 21st.
Maybe
it falls apart. It definitely falls apart before the Super Bowl. Before the Super Bowl, it definitely falls apart. So
then you get those chicken wings.
Exactly. You're talking about the Super Bowl and everything else. So I would advise people. This is, ask myself, ask D-May. So I've asked the question. So I would advise people to, in the next couple of days, make a plan heading into the weekend. Make a plan on what your resolution is going to be and how you're going to attack it. Don't just try to attack it without a plan. You try to attack it without a plan, you're going to get beat each and every time. So attack it with a plan, and then that's half the battle. Attacking it with the plan, and then see how well you can hold on to that plan. But setting a resolution without a plan, you're going to fail each time.
Do it with someone. That would be my suggestion.
Absolutely. Do it with someone.
Set a goal with someone. Make a resolution with someone, because then you can motivate each other to get it done. Because when you do it by yourself, you can talk yourself out of it. Mm-hmm. When you do it with somebody else, they'll keep you in line. They'll whip you into shape. Whatever your resolution is, we're using the examples of getting into shape because I think that is the most common New Year's resolution. Mm-hmm. Eating right, going to the gym more, all of those things. I certainly could use both of those things, especially after this week.
But here's another one. Here's another one for you, Adam, because you brought up to do it with someone else. And you're absolutely right. If you're going to set a resolution, set it with someone. And a lot of times it's with your spouse or your partner. You set that resolution with them. My suggestion when you set that resolution with them, because somebody's going to hold the other person to that resolution. And more times than not, it's the girlfriend or the wife that is holding the guy to the resolution. If you've set that resolution with that individual, your spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, if you set it, you got to be able, if they get on you, you got to be able to say, okay, you're right. You're right. I said I was going to stick to it, and you're right. I'm going to the gym with you. Don't get upset with them, because you wanted them to hold you accountable. They're holding you accountable to work out. So either go and work out, but don't fuss about it. Either go and work out or just say, I can't do it anymore. But someone's going to hold the other person accountable. That's all I got to say.
As Dylan on our text line says, doing it with someone else is usually more fun than doing it by yourself anyway. I know what you're getting at, Dylan, and I even knew that before I read that text message on the air, and I still did it anyway. I'm just letting you know that right now. It is true. It is more fun to do things with other people than to do things by yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
And we're talking about New Year's resolutions. Yes. Dylan is talking about who knows what Dylan is talking about. I know exactly what Dylan
sandwiches,
is talking about.
I don't know.
Watching TV.
Ordering pizza, something like that. Netflix, I don't know.
One of those things.
Watching TV by yourself is certainly more enjoyable when
It
you get to
is.
choose what you want to watch.
Going to the bar
And-
by yourself isn't really that fun either.
It can be.
It can be.
Yeah, because sometimes you just want to go in there and relax and chill.
Watch the
You know?
big game with a bunch of different people. And just like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
See, sometimes, Dylan, it is fun to do things by yourself. What do you know? 615-737-1025. We have some extra questions for Derek. We'll get to those next. If you have questions for Derek, we'll even do an extended Ask Teammate. So call us, text us 615-737-1025. But before we get there, join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and our very own Derek Mason at Twin Peaks and Madison this Sunday for the pregame show. Unless this is says week 16 matchup against the Colts, I'm going to say week 17 matchup against the Jaguars. So join Jared, Chris, and Derek at Twin Peaks and Madison this Sunday for the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, an award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint, and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. A reminder, right after our program, pregame starts for Vanderbilt football as they prepare to take on Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl. Pregame at 1, kickoff at 2:30. So right after our program, you can catch Vanderbilt against Georgia Tech. We have a couple of extra questions on Ask D-Mace, so I'd love to get those right now. Josh on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Derek wants to know which quarterback would fit Brian Callahan more, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, or Kirk Cousins?
Wow. Oh, man. All of them are running sort of a version of this, or at least two of them are running a version of this offense. That means I think Darnold is running a version of it, and Aaron Rodgers is running a version of it as well. And who was the third one?
Darnold, Rodgers, and Cousins.
Oh, Cousins. I'm not sure Cousins. I'm not sure they're running a version of this offense. And then even in this offense, I think you got to have some mobility. As good as Kurt has been, he has no mobility. He's not getting outside the pocket. At least Aaron Rodgers can still buy a little more time. And obviously Darnold can get outside the pocket as well. So I think of the three, I think two of them, Darnold and Aaron Rodgers, fits this offense better, I think, than Cousins. But if I had to pick between Darnold, just for 1 year, between Darnold and Aaron Rodgers, I'm picking Aaron Rodgers because I know who Aaron Rodgers is, regardless if he has receivers or not. I know who Aaron Rodgers is. I know what he can. I know what he's done. Sam Darnold, I think there's still a slight warning on the label, a small print, like, hey, listen, like I said earlier, and Charles Rogers said this, Robinson said this too as well on our morning show. He doesn't come with O'Connell, and he doesn't come with Jefferson. So what type of quarterback is he going to be? Because a lot of people can be good with those two guys, especially really with Jefferson. But without him, who are you as a quarterback? How much do you decline as a quarterback? I know who Aaron Rodgers is with, receivers, or without having, 2 or 3 receivers or that main guy. I know who Rodgers can be and who he is. Rodgers has over 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, and only, I think, 8 interceptions. That is a damn good year. He's on the verge of throwing for 4,000 yards with a guy that started off really slow at the beginning of the season and has since picked it up. We saw some of those games where he threw multiple interceptions, but if you look at the body of the work, I think I would trust Aaron Rodgers a little bit more on a 1-year deal, possibly a 2, than I would with Sam Darnold, as my quarterback. Because to me, Sam Darnold is going to come. He's not going to have O'Connell or Jefferson, but then he comes with a bigger price tag as well. And when I mean price tag, I mean the years as well. And Aaron Rodgers isn't going to come with all that.
Devin in Dixon wants to know, who was the toughest player you ever played against?
Toughest player I've ever played against. Wow. Gosh, there's been a few of them. Ty Law, I always bring up his name. Sam Madison, Champ Bailey, Pittsburgh as a whole. Taylor, the corner that you played in Pittsburgh. Those were guys that sort of I had to make sure that I was on my game going against those guys. There was no doubt I had to make sure. I made sure that I was on my game against everybody else, but those particular guys, you had to make sure, like, every play you were dialed in, because if you were not, then they were going to make you pay for it. They're going to embarrass you somehow, some way. So I think those guys that I named, it wasn't one specific guy, outside of those guys. But if I had to rank them, I think Ty Law would be number 1. And I know a lot of our listeners probably don't know who Ty Law was because he retired. It might have been early 2000s, late 9. No, it was early 2000s.
Was it 2005, 2006?
Yeah, it might have been 2005.
He played his
somewhere around there.
final season in 2009.
Was
By
it
that point, he
2009?
wasn't an
Whew,
by
man.
that point, though, he was not an
Yeah.
everyday player.
Exactly.
His last full season in terms of starting every game was 2007.
Yeah. So, but Ty Law
He hung
was
around the league for a couple more years after that, but he stopped being Ty Law
Yeah.
in 2007.
Yeah, and he's a Hall of Famer. He won. I think that he ended up winning 2 championships with New England, if I'm not mistaken, or I know he won one there, but I'm not sure if he won another.
He was a 3-time Super Bowl champion.
3 times. Oh, okay, goodness. All with the Patriots,
probably,
right?
Yeah, it should be.
2000. I guess it would have been 2001, 2000. I can't remember which years they won in the early 2000s.
Yeah. So yeah, he was there for all 3 of their championships. I caught Darrelle Revis at the beginning of his career. So, and I played against him once. Well, twice, his rookie year. And then I played against him like 2 or 3 years later. But he was still in that young phase. A good player, but I didn't play him enough. Those other guys I played multiple times.
All right, let's see. One texter on our text line asks about the idea of acquiring Hendon Hooker from Detroit, which is something we've talked a little bit about as we've discussed quarterback options. The texter suggested trading a 3rd-round draft pick, which, if I'm not mistaken, they do not have because of the L'Jarius Sneed trade. So they couldn't trade a 3rd-round draft pick this year, at least, for Hendon Hooker. But this idea of Hendon Hooker, he's behind Jared Goff in Detroit. Goff is entrenched as the starter there. Obviously, a lot of warm and fuzzy feelings for Hendon Hooker in Tennessee. What do you make of Hendon Hooker? Let's throw Hendon Hooker in this pile as well. And we talked about this with Willie, I think it was last week.
Yes.
That if you're the Lions and you have Hendon Hooker waiting in the wings behind Jared Goff, why are you giving up Hendon Hooker to help another team? We talked about Jake Browning with the Cincinnati Bengals because he obviously has a familiarity with Brian Callahan, and Brian Callahan played a part in Jake Browning playing well when Joe Burrow was out. But why would the Bengals give up a solid backup quarterback? We know how hard it is, especially around here, to find good quarterback play, regardless if it's your starter or your backup. So if you have one of those good backups, why would you give him up? But for the sake of the question, what do you make of Hendon Hooker as a potential? Fit?
That is interesting because he's going into his 2nd year. Going into the 2nd year, I think he's 25.
No, he's 27.
27. Whew. 27 years ago, going to his 2nd year.
He turns 27. He turns 27 in mid-January.
Oh man, yeah. So no, it's still the same. He'll still be 20.
He's basically the same.
Exactly. He'll be 27 when you get him.
Correct.
So, or if you get him, it's interesting from this standpoint, is that he's young relative to years being in the NFL. So you sort of had that, and then you wouldn't have to give up anything, but possibly at most, but you would have to then get a 3rd-round pick. But I'm pretty sure Detroit is going to try to squeeze, if indeed they are in the market for that. They're going to try to squeeze maybe a late 2nd or early 3rd to get Hendon Hooker because he essentially was a 3rd-round pick.
Could potentially be less because of Teddy Bridgewater signing with Detroit late this year.
I think Bridgewater is more so for this season, just in case he goes, just in case something happens to Goff. Bridgewater knows the offense. He's been there before. He has familiarity with the organization. So that may be just because of that.
But could you also say that they think less of Hendon Hooker because of signing Teddy Bridgewater, who was just like months ago coaching for a state championship in Florida?
Yeah, I get that, but I think they believe that Hendon Hooker, from a physical standpoint and, knowing the offense, he's not there yet. Even after a year, and a lot of it was spent rehabbing and going in the classroom. So he was trying to do both of them. So I think they were looking at that's a now move because they feel Bridgewater knows the offense and everything else. And you don't have to worry about sort of the health because Hooker is coming off of the knee injury and everything else. So, but Hooker is interesting from that standpoint of, do you have enough time to develop him as a quarterback? Because you're going to have to get to this second contract very quickly now. If you trade for him, you have to get to it very quickly. So you got to know right now if he's the guy or he's not the guy, or can you allow him to sit another year, say behind an Aaron Rodgers? Because you're gonna, regardless of who you go out and get, you're gonna need a viable backup. So if you go out and get a Hendon Hooker, the problem is again his age and how fast does he learn this offense, even though it's sort of, I believe it's sort of the same offense, but how quickly can he learn it the way you teach it and then be able to go out there and implement it on the field? That's the problem. Age is against him, unfortunately, and he's only been in the NFL 2 years.
Yeah, because he's 20. He's about to turn 27. Lamar Jackson's about to turn 28.
Exactly.
He's been in the league for 7 years. So
exactly. So that's so Adam. I wouldn't give up a third round for him. I wouldn't because of the age part. If you're asking a fifth, yeah, I possibly do that, but I'm not giving up a third round pick for him because of that, because of those reasons that I stated.
So Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, of course, when the Lions signed Teddy Bridgewater out of retirement, emphasized that the addition of Bridgewater is not a reflection of Hendon Hooker. He says, quote, "This does not mean that Hooker is out. That's not what this means. If it comes to that, Hooker's going to play for us, but Teddy probably will too. So I understand what it looks like, but it's just a different world that we're getting ready to walk into, and we felt like this was the right thing to do."
It's a right now move. Teddy Bridgewater's been in the NFL. He has experience. I believe he is a playoff quarterback. I do believe he led a team or had to be the quarterback in the playoffs at least once. So he has that experience. And Teddy Bridgewater he wasn't a bad quarterback. He wasn't great. He was solid. And when you get in the playoffs, you need your quarterback play to be at least solid in order to have a chance to win.
One texter suggests Trey Lance because he is, unlike Hooker, he is a younger prospect. I think he's in his early 20s or his early to mid 20s. He's 24. But we know the saga of Trey Lance. He did not live up to his draft billing as the third overall pick in 2021 with the 49ers. You know, he has turned up with the Cowboys. He's not playing. And when I think about who the Titans could sign to be their quarterback next year, if we assume that it's going to be a veteran, because where they are right now in the draft order, they're probably not going to get Shedeur Sanders.
No,
and
unless
they're probably not going to get Cam Ward, who I believe are the two quarterbacks that get talked about most as first round picks. So if it's going to be a veteran, I mean, Trey Lance technically is a veteran because he's been in the league for a few years now. But I just, I think the Titans would be best served with a quarterback that is not a complete reclamation project. If you need to rehabilitate someone by bringing them in, similar to what the Vikings did with Darnold or the Buccaneers did with Mayfield, maybe that. But I feel like Trey Lance is like a completely unfinished canvas. And to me, that doesn't seem like the right move for this team.
Yeah, if you're gonna listen, if Trey Lance come into the picture, it would have to be for a seventh round pick, 6th or 7th round pick. If you want to give him over for not even a 6, I'll give you a 7th for him, and maybe a conditional 6. But I'm not giving anything above that because he can't even get in front of Cooper Rush to play.
Right.
So that means you don't see him. Excuse me. That means you don't see him much in your plan. So, hey, I give you a 7th round pick, and if he becomes our starter, a conditional 6, take it or leave it.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a reasonable cost for, as you said, a player that can't even get into the backup role with the Dallas Cowboys. And I get the appeal. He's young. He can still be molded into a good quarterback. Clearly, people were high on him enough to trade. I mean, the Niners traded how many draft picks to move up to acquire Trey Lance in the draft, however many years ago. So clearly people were high on him, but the bloom is off the rose, so to speak. And I just don't see the Titans wanting to start from scratch with a total reclamation project at quarterback. But again, these are the conversations that you have when you don't have a quarterback. I mean, it must be nice in markets like Kansas City and Buffalo and Cincinnati, where you never have to ask questions about the quarterback.
It's everybody else.
Because they have one. But that's where the Titans find themselves. And that's where we are. 615-737-1025. We will take it to the bank. Coming up next, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 1025-1063, The Game.
Here comes the money.
And you can take that to the bank.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
E-Mace, Finken, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It is time to take it to the bank, presented by our friends at F&M Bank. Customer community, F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Before we get to it, one texter, per our previous conversation, did make an astute point, Derek. The texter said, Rand Carthon can't make the same mistake on Trey Lance twice. Of course, Rand Carthon was a part of the Niners brain trust when the Niners drafted Trey Lance.
Yeah, so don't expect him to go down that route again. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to imagine there is some buyer beware since Rand Carthon would know what he's getting into. But it is time, as I said, to take it to the bank, presented by F&M Bank. I have a bad feeling about this week, but David Janes, I turn it over to you to recap our selections from last week.
Yeah, Adam, your bad feeling is it's true. It wasn't a good week for you.
I had a bad week. Yes.
Let me play the music for you. I'm sorry I had to do that. So Adam, you picked SMU to cover. Unfortunately, that did not happen.
Wah, wah, wah.
You said the Steelers would cover 6.5 against the Ravens. That did not happen. You said the Seahawks would beat the Vikings. That was close, but did not happen. And you said Calvin Ridley would have 100 yards.
And
so
a big fat zero from me last week.
Big fat goose egg. D-Mace, you had a pretty good week.
Okay, come on, bring it back.
You had Lanier of 17 points for the UT versus MTSU game. He did have 24 points, so you got that. You said Lamar with 2 touchdowns. You got that. And the Ravens 2 win against the Steelers. Go Ravens. That happened. But the Titans did not get 2 sacks. They only got 1 sack. Yeah. Unfortunately, I know. Yeah, take it with the Titans, man. I don't know what to tell you. Willie, he picked Tennessee for the points against.
How many points did Derek get out of that?
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. I'm reading super fast. He had 7 points.
Yes.
He had his number 85. He's still not the lead though.
Dang
Adam, you still have the lead with 86 points. But you got your number, D-Mace. You're at 85 points.
Okay, I'll take it.
You got the D-Mace number.
I'll take it for this week.
Now, Willie, he picked Tennessee over OSU with the points. That unfortunately did not happen. Notre Dame, though, that did happen. Notre Dame beat the mess out of Indiana. He said the Colts would win with -3.5 against the Titans. That happened. And he had the Jags +1.5. That unfortunately did not happen for the Jags.
How many points for Willie?
So Willie had 6 points because he did pick Notre Dame and the Colts. Now me, let's go to me. This is the important one. I had all the home teams from Saturday win. That did happen. I had the Ravens winning both of their games. That also happened, baby. Yes, sir. They're 3-0 in the past 11 days. And Lamar was supposed to have 4 touchdowns. He only had 3 against the Steelers. Unfortunately, I don't give points out for just 1 point victor or when you're 1 point off. So I only got, what did I get? 6 points. So I have 66 total points. Willie had 78, D-May 65, and Adam, you have 86 points. And you still
I got 85, not 65.
My bad. Yeah. 85. Thank you for the correction.
Give my 20 points, man. Give my 20 points.
Hey.
All right. So my lead has been cut to 1, but because I am still in first place, I still get to go first. So here are my picks for the week. Titans and Jaguars this Sunday. I'm going to say the Titans get their revenge. Give me the Titans over the Jaguars on Sunday. Calvin Ridley makes his return to Jacksonville. He let me down last week. He did not reach 100 yards, but I say he catches a touchdown in his return to Jacksonville. So give me a Calvin Ridley anytime touchdown on Sunday in his return to Jacksonville. A really good NFC North battle this weekend. Packers and Vikings. Give me the Packers on the road over the Minnesota Vikings. I believe the Packers were on the road for this one. Give me the Packers over the Vikings. And the biggest point spread in the next round of the college football playoff is in the Peach Bowl. Texas is a 13-point favorite against Arizona State. I will say Arizona State covers against Texas. So Arizona State will cover against Texas, who is a 13-point favorite in the Peach Bowl.
Okay. All right. Let me go with I just had the Preds. I got the Preds to win and Marshall Salt to have either a goal or a point. Tonight, yep. The Titans. I have give me Pollard, no, Spears, anytime touchdown. So whether it's a run or catch, a touchdown.
Gotcha.
And I'm gonna go with Chigakonkwo having over 5 catches this game.
Ooh.
So
feeling
is that
frisky.
so is that 4
I will say
or 3? Because I picked Marshall Salt, but the Preds winning, but Marshall Salt having at least.
That is 2.
That's
That's
2.
2.
So you have
Okay,
4.
so
you've had
I got
4.
my 4. So
Yes.
there, boom. See, I had to check.
Yeah, none of
Made
this.
sure I
we
checked.
closed that loophole,
Listen,
remember. We closed that loophole.
Willie, I'm not gonna have Willie yell at me again. All right, we're not gonna do this again. All right,
Okay.
but Willie did send his picks. He said he wanted to add, he might add a 4th. He did not add a 4th. I guess he learned his lesson from last week. So he had the Titans plus 1.5. He has Rudolph with Rudolph with 2 touchdown passes, 2 plus touchdown passes, might I add. He has the Colts minus 7.5 at the Giants. So it's a pretty good picks for him.
Okay.
So okay. Now it's to me the most important person in this competition.
The last place guy.
Yeah, the last place guy. I'm the most important. All right, D-Base.
Last but not least.
Exactly. So I believe that I think Boise State will beat Penn State. I do not believe in James Franklin.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
I think big games he's just never good at big games. SMU wasn't really a big game. This one will actually be a big game. So I think Boise State will beat Penn State. I believe, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go back to the well. NWI touchdown, baby. I think it'll happen. It happened last week. It might happen again. We don't know, but we will see. And I'm trying to think. Is there one more? You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it again. Vandy is going to win again. I'm gonna do like I did with my silly underdog pick for Chase. I already got 1 win for him. I'm going to get another win by Vandy winning.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised that
All
nobody
right.
picked that Vandy game beside you.
I know. You know,
I like to enjoy the game, man.
Hey, I like to
wanna
enjoy. Either way, I'm going to enjoy the game, but I'm going to enjoy a game with a win.
I get you. I get it's double the
victory. Yeah.
If they do win.
And
So,
again,
I
I will have 2 wins for silly underdog picks for Chase. I mean, Arkansas State already won last night.
Okay.
So let's
What
see.
was the point spread on the Arkansas State game?
So it changed apparently, but it was 7.5. When I picked it, it was 7.5, but it was 10. Like
it went
last
up to
night.
10?
Yeah, it went up to 10. I don't know.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
that was
why
weird.
did it why did it jump?
Yeah,
What,
that
3
like,
points?
like 2.5 points. I don't get
Oh,
that. That's
okay.
weird.
Gosh. Okay.
Strange.
Something
All
must
right.
happen
So by
player-wise.
that math, Chase has jumped over me and Derek in silly underdog picks.
You're welcome, Chase.
The last go round, I was the only person who won a bowl game. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you, Sam Houston. But we will see with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt will take on Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl. Coverage of that game starts right after this. Pre-game at 1. The game starts at 2:30. So stay tuned here for full coverage of the Birmingham Bowl between Vanderbilt and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Following that game will be our Predators coverage. Predators are back in action, winners of 4 of their past 6. They will face the St. Louis Blues to open a pivotal 6-game road trip. Puck drop at 7. Pre-game at 6 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, as well as being broadcast on News Channel 5. So if you do not have FanDuel Sports Network but want to catch the Predators game tonight, it will be broadcast on News Channel 5 with Willie Dunn and Chris Mason and the rest of the crew. That'll do it for us this week. We'll be back on Monday at a special time, 9 o'clock. We will be on from 9 to noon. Chase and Big Joe will be on starting at noon to provide pre-game coverage of the Music City Bowl. So if you turn on the station at 9 hoping for Chase and Big Joe, You'll get me and Derek and Willie. No matter what, you win. We will be back on Monday at 9 o'clock. Pre-game coverage of Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech coming up next.
Be love on your people. Have a wonderful, safe, and blessed weekend. Peace.
Go out to the places.